So just real quick, I wanted to do my take on this idea of a black Superman, and one, why there shouldn't be a black Superman, and why there never will be really a black Superman. And here's why. Superman is very symbolic for a lot of people, and I think it's symbolic of some things that aren't necessarily good. We mask Superman with the idea that he's this righteous hero who's here for everyone, but nothing about Superman's past has shown us any of that. Superman came from a place, if you know the mythology of Krypton, which was already a very segregated place. This was not an inclusive society. It wasn't. So, where he comes from was not a place where you would have seen diversity and inclusion at all, right? If you look at the old Kryptonians, they were pretty much homogenous. Even though there were supposed to be other races on the planet or other skin tones on the planet, is what we should say. That's all they were. They weren't different races, they weren't different species, they were just different skin tones. But clearly, that story of Superman is not a part of that. When Superman comes to Earth, he grows up with the idea of living on this farm, I think in like Iowa, and that was going to teach him to, be humble and to understand what humans actually go through. Well, he saw what humans go through for one particular group. Superman has never been everybody's hero. Never. I think there's a storyline in Black Lightning where he's heavily critical of Superman for never doing anything for any community that doesn't look like him. That's who Clark Kent is. Clark Kent is a guy who grew up in a very small, very specific community with one type of look. Not that that's bad. I'm not saying that's bad. It just means that you probably can't relate to me or be sympathetic to me or understand me in any way. And that's a little bit scary when like the one person represents only one part of society. So this is why Superman can't ever be portrayed by someone who's not exactly the way he looks, because he represents one part of society, right? In some areas of the world, this is the dominant part, and obviously this is where Hollywood is. So we get that message put out there. So that's the why Superman can't be anything other than what he is, because this is who his story is. This is what he is. He is a figure that was really designed for one segment of the community. Everybody can love him. I'm not criticizing anyone that does. He's one of the first heroes we had, probably the biggest ever. So people do gravitate towards the hero, and it's great movies. And as a person, I think the actor Henry Cavill is a great actor. I like him in other stuff as well. The other point of why there should not be a black Superman is because, one, for that community, we need to develop our own characters. And sometimes I wonder if these creators, these movie producers, put these images out in order to stir up controversy. They know there's going to be a lot of strong feelings on both sides of the aisle. A lot you rile people up when you put out the suggestion that this could replace the character that they've been familiar with all these years, and it turns into these very racist, very derogatory conversations. And I wonder if that's not done strictly for the purposes of generating some revenue or getting some talking points around it. Years ago, the same company DC had developed an alternate Wonder Woman, Nubia character, who is exactly like her in every way and equal to her, except she has dark skin. They didn't make this a contentions fight between the two. They had their conflict over the title, both coming from Themyscira, but they were able to develop this as a separate character without ever taking it away from Diana. So when we hear these stories around Superman or James Bond, we have to really look at what they're designed to do. And for these companies, you can get a lot of talking points, you can get people very heated, but what it does societally is create a lot of hatred among us who have to live here. And unfortunately, it's a negative, like it's a net negative. So I think for me, there will never be a black Superman. I would not support that myself because I don't see how you change his skin color without changing fundamentally who he is. Now, if they wanted to introduce another Kryptonian character who was dark skinned, I would be open to that. But to replace Clark Kent with something that is a different character, I wouldn't support it. I don't think it's necessary. I've never felt any kinship or association to Superman. And that's the idea of the character, is that you should be able to glom into a character that you think fits you or represents you. And I would never see that as and feel that way about this particular character. So that's my thoughts on it. I know you'll leave your comments below, but that's how I'm going to open it up. Thank you again, guys, for stopping in.